I agreed to tutor my best friend's sister. I didn't realize I was the variable she was solving for. They say, don't mix business with pleasure. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2 should be, don't mix PhD thesis stress with your best friend's bratty sophomore sister. I broke both rules. And now, I'm hiding in my own bathroom, trying to breathe, while she eats my cereal in the kitchen like she owns the place. Let me back up. My name is Alex. I am 25. I am currently drowning in a doctoral program that consists mostly of caffeine, regret, and staring at datasets until my eyes burn. My life is boring. It is safe. It is calculated. Or it was, until Mark called me. Mark has been my best friend since we were 6. We've survived puberty, high school heartbreaks, and bad college haircuts together. I trust him with my life. But I should not have trusted him with my Tuesday afternoons. It was the start of the semester. He called me, sounding desperate. Dude, you gotta help me, he said. Maya barely survived calculus last semester. Now she's got stats 101. If she flunks this, she loses her scholarship. If she loses that funding, my parents cut her off, which means she's going to ask me for money. You're a math wizard. Fix her, Maya. Fine, I said. Send her to the library. Tuesdays and Thursdays. But tell her I'm not doing the homework for her. You're a lifesaver. Mark exhaled, sounding like I just pulled him from a burning building. I hung up and tried to picture the task ahead. My memory of Maya was specific. I remembered a blurry, high-energy kid, knobby knees, a mouth full of metal braces, and a ponytail so tight it looked painful. I hadn't really seen her properly since I left for college. In my head, she was 13, harmless, loud. I figured tutoring her would mostly involve stopping her from chewing on her pencil. I couldn't have been more wrong. The library smelled like old paper and floor wax. The fluorescent lights hummed that low noise that drills right into your skull. I sat there waiting for little Maya. Then, a heavy leather backpack hit the table. I looked up, and my brain just stalled, because this wasn't a kid with braces. This was a 20-year-old problem wrapped in grunge aesthetics. She wore an oversized, faded Metallica tee that hung off one shoulder and heavy combat boots. But the face stopped me. She had messy, ink-black hair that fell over her eyes. And those eyes were sharp, too intelligent. They were dark, framed by thick, smudged eyeliner that made her look like she'd been up all night, doing something fun while I was studying. Hey, professor, she said. Her voice wasn't squeaky anymore. It had a scratch to it, like she just woke up. I'm not a professor, I said, and my voice cracked. Great. I'm a TA, and your brother's friend. Sit down. She sat, but she didn't sit across from me. She dragged her chair around to my side of the table. She dragged it until the armrests touched. I got hit with a wave of her perfume. It was heavy, warm vanilla, but with something sharp underneath, like burnt sugar. So, she said, popping the cap off a highlighter with her teeth. Teach me about standard deviations. For the first 20 minutes, I tried. I really tried. I drew bell curves. I explained variance. I was professional, but she wasn't looking at the paper. She was leaning back, balancing on the back legs of her chair. Her shirt slipped down her shoulder again. She blew a pink bubble until it snapped against her lips, then twirled a lock of hair around a finger that was painted chipped black. Maya, I snapped. Are you listening? I'm listening. She dropped the chair legs back to the floor with a thud. She leaned in, resting her chin on her hand. You have a gray hair right there. She reached out. Her fingers were cool against my skin as she touched my temple. The silver rings on her fingers clicked against each other, a tiny sound that seemed deafening in the quiet library. I pulled back like I'd been burned. Don't touch the tutor. She smirked, showing a glimpse of teeth that used to have braces. You're stressed, Alex. You need to relax. It only got worse from there. One Tuesday, she brought me coffee. I thought, wow, a peace offering. I took a sip. It was pure syrup, a hazelnut explosion. I told the barista to make it taste like a hug, she said. She was watching me over the rim of her own cup, eyes crinkled at the corners. You look like you need a hug, Alex. You look like you haven't been hugged since 2019. Then she grabbed my hand, my writing hand. Her palm was soft, shockingly soft against my callus. She traced a smiley face on the back of my hand with her blue pen, the tip ticking against my skin. Don't wash that off, she warned, looking up through her lashes. It's a lucky charm. I walked around campus for 3 days with a blue smiley face on my hand. I told myself it was because the ink was stubborn. It wasn't. And then there was the reading glasses incident. She claimed she forgot her contacts. So, every time I pointed to a chart, she had to lean in. I could feel the heat radiating off her arm. I could see the tiny dusting of powder on her nose. When she breathed, I could smell that vanilla lotion again. It was suffocating. Is that a 7 or a 1? She whispered. Her breath hit the side of my neck. It's a 7, Maya. It has a line through it. You have nice handwriting, she murmured. She wasn't looking at the number. She was looking at my mouth. It's very authoritative. I had to end that session 10 minutes early because I was sweating through my dress shirt. Then there was the phone thing. Mid-session, Mark would call her to check in. Hey, yeah. Her voice would jump 3 octaves. Pure sunshine. Yeah. Alex is being so helpful. He's so smart. While she said this, she was slumped in her chair, legs stretched out under the table. She'd lock eyes with me, face completely blank, and slowly kick my shin with the toe of her heavy boot. Thud, thud, thud. You're boring when you talk about coefficients, she'd whisper as soon as she hung up. I checked my watch, because you're charging me by the minute in sanity coins. She laughed. It was a low sound that vibrated in her chest. I like annoying you. You turn a funny shade of red. It matches your tie. I should have quit then. I should have told Mark his sister was trying to dismantle my nervous system. But I didn't. Because, and I hate admitting this, that burnt sugar smell was the only interesting thing in my week. 3 weeks later, the library was too loud. I can't focus, she complained. That guy over there is breathing weird. And the Wi-Fi sucks. Can't we just go to your place? Mark says you have an espresso machine. Mark talks too much, I grumbled. Please. She looked up at me. She bit her lip, widened her eyes, and gave me a look that she definitely knew was lethal. I really need to pass this midterm, Alex. My dad is going to kill me. I sighed. Fine. My place. But strict rules. No music. We grind for 2 hours, then you leave. Aye, Captain. She showed up at my apartment wearing something that stopped me cold. It was my navy blue university hoodie, the one I left at Mark's house 6 months ago. It swallowed her whole. The sleeves went past her hands. The hem hit her mid-thigh. She looked tiny in it. Is that? I pointed. Oh, this. She plucked at the fabric. Yeah, I rescued it from our laundry room back home. It smells like cedar. And old books. She pushed past me. Nice place. A little sterile. You need plants. Or a rug that isn't gray. She made herself at home immediately. She hopped up onto my kitchen counter. Not chair. The counter. Her bare legs swung, heels banging softly against the cabinets. So, teach me math, wizard. The apartment felt different with her in it. Domestic. Dangerous. Just the low hum of my refrigerator and the rain starting to tap against the window. And she began leaving landmines. First, it was a scrunchie on the coffee table. Then, a tube of strawberry lip gloss in the bathroom next to my toothpaste. She stood up in the middle of the living room and stretched. A full, cat-like stretch, arms reaching up. The hoodie rode up, just enough to expose a strip of pale skin at her waist. I stared at the wall. I stared at the floor. I stared at the periodic table poster I had ironically hung up in the hallway. My back hurts, she groaned, twisting side to side. Do you know any massages? Or are you only good at math? I'm gonna get water, I said, my voice strangled. I suggest you be sitting down when I get back. Or what? She called after me. You'll give me extra homework. We sat on my couch. The coffee table was covered in papers. I don't get this, she said, pointing to a formula. Why does X change? Because X is a variable, Maya. It changes based on the input. Like people, she murmured. I looked at her. What? She turned to me. We were inches apart on the small couch. The room felt suddenly airtight. People change based on the input, she said softly. Like, you treat me like a kid, so I act like a brat. But if you treated me like an adult, maybe I'd act like one. My throat went dry. I treat you like my best friend's sister. Because that's the constant. That's a stupid constant. She leaned in. I could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes. I could feel the warmth of her leg pressing against mine through the fabric of her sweatpants. I didn't ask for you by accident, Alex. The rain hammered against the glass. What do you mean? I asked. I didn't fail on purpose, she admitted. She wasn't smiling now. I honestly have no idea what I'm doing with this stuff. But when Mark said he was going to find you a tutor, I saw an opening. An opening? To get you in a room where you couldn't ignore me. Why? Because she looked down at her hands, twisting the hoodie strings around her fingers until the tips turned white. I saw you at the coffee shop on campus. Freshman year. You were buying a black coffee. I walked right up to you. I said hi, and you just gave me this polite, empty nod. You didn't even know who I was. I probably didn't recognize you. You look different. I know, she whispered, but it still crushed me. Because I've had a crush on you since I was 12, Alex. Since you fixed my bike in the driveway. And when you looked through me like a stranger, I felt invisible. She looked up. Her expression was fierce. I decided right then that by sophomore year, you wouldn't be able to look away. I wanted to be a variable in your life, not a constant. I froze. My PhD brain tried to calculate the risk, and the result was critical failure. Maya, I said, and my voice was gentle. You're dangerous. You know that. She looked up through her lashes. Is it working? I didn't get to answer. My phone buzzed on the table. It was Mark. Text. How's it going? She hasn't burned down your kitchen yet. The moment snapped. I snatched the phone and stood up. We need to study, I said. I sounded out of breath. Finals are next week. She watched me. She didn't look embarrassed. She looked satisfied, like she just won a round of a game I didn't know we were playing. Okay, she said. Back to X. Finals week. The campus was a zombie apocalypse. Everyone hadn't slept in 3 days. It was 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Maya was at my apartment again. But the vibe was different. The game stopped 2 weeks ago. She wasn't flirting. She was genuinely, desperately trying to understand the material. She sat on the floor, surrounded by crumpled papers. Her hair was in a messy bun that was falling apart, strands sticking to her neck. She wore sweatpants and a t-shirt that looked like it had been through a war. She was crying. Not cute crying. Ugly crying. Her face was blotchy, her shoulders shook, and she aggressively wiped her nose on her sleeve. I walked in with 2 mugs of tea. Maya. She wiped her face. I can't do it. I'm stupid. I'm actually stupid. Hey. I set the mugs down. You're not stupid. You're just tired. No, I don't get it. She slammed the textbook shut. If I fail this, I lose my scholarship. My dad is going to look at me with that disappointed face. I can't handle the disappointed face, Alex. She pulled her knees to her chest. She looked so small. Suddenly, she wasn't the girl trying to ruin my life. She was 20. She was a kid who was scared of failing. All my defenses crumbled. I sat down next to her on the floor. Look at me. She shook her head, hiding in her knees. Maya, look at me. She looked up. Her eyes were red-rimmed and swollen. Her mascara was smeared under her eyes. You are not going to fail, I said. You know this stuff. You're just panicking. Panic makes you dumb. Trust me. I'm a PhD student. I'm professionally dumb from panic. She let out a wet, choked laugh. Here. I handed her the tea. Drink. It's chamomile. It tastes like hot grass, but it helps. She took the mug. Her fingers brushed mine. Her hands were ice cold. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry I've been such a brat. I wanted you to notice me. But now I'm just a mess. You're a mess, I agreed. But you're a smart mess. I reached out and tucked a loose strand of dark hair behind her ear. It was an automatic reaction. She leaned into my touch. She rested her cheek against my hand. Her skin was fever-warm from the crying. Alex, she whispered. Yeah. If I pass this test, I lose my excuse. What excuse? To come over. To see you. Once I pass, Mark is going to say good job, and I'll go back to being the little sister you see at Thanksgiving. She looked terrified of that. More terrified of losing me than failing the test. You don't need an excuse, I said. My voice was rough. You pass the test, and you come over whenever you want. Okay. She searched my face. Promise. Promise. She put the mug down. She crawled across the small space between us. And she kissed me. It tasted like chamomile and relief. It was hesitant at first, like she was waiting for me to push her away. I didn't push her away. I kissed her back. And for the first time in my rigid, calculated life, I stopped doing the math. She passed the test. A solid B+. Mark was thrilled. I was terrified. Because now, we were dating. Secretly. Do you know how stressful it is to date your best friend's sister while he is constantly texting both of you? It was a month of near-death experiences. We were at the movies. Dark theater. Holding hands. Suddenly, I saw Mark walking down the aisle with his girlfriend. I literally dove onto the floor. I laid on the sticky floor for 2 hours, praying for death. Above me, Maya sat in the seat, casually eating milk duds. She used my shoulder as a footrest, nudging me every time a funny scene happened. She thought it was hilarious. I developed a twitch in my left eye. One day, the morning after she stayed over, we were in the kitchen making pancakes. I was wearing boxers. She was wearing, well, my shirt. Mark had crashed on my couch earlier that week and left his gear, so I shouldn't have been surprised when there was a knock at the door. Alex. It's Mark. Open up. I forgot my charger. Panic. Sheer panic. Hi. I hissed. Where? She whispered, mouth full of pancake. The pantry. Go. I shoved my girlfriend into the pantry, next to the Cheerios and a broom. I opened the door. Hey man. Mark walked in. He sniffed the air. Smells like pancakes. And vanilla perfume. I changed my detergent. I said too quickly. He looked at me weird. Okay. Cool. He grabbed his charger from the side table. He walked toward the pantry. You got any chips? No. I shouted, blocking the pantry door with my body. He froze. I mean ants. I lied, looking him dead in the eye. Massive infestation. It's a war zone. Don't open it unless you want them on you. He grimaced and stepped back. Gross. Call an exterminator, man. He left. I opened the pantry. Maya was sitting on a bucket of paint, eating the rest of her pancake. She had a smudge of syrup on her chin. You owe me dinner, she said, licking the syrup off. It was chaos. It was stressful. But you can't hide a variable forever. The equation always balances out. Summer break. The semester was over. Mark found out. It wasn't some big dramatic reveal. He just unlocked my phone to look up a pizza place and saw a text from bratty sister that said, I miss your face. And your hoodie. Mostly the hoodie. He didn't kill me. He just stared at me for a solid minute, sighed deeply, and said, if you break her heart, I will bury you in the woods. If she breaks yours, well, I'll bring beer. He accepted it, which meant it was time for the final boss. The parents. We stood on the front porch of her childhood home. The house I grew up playing Halo in. The house where I broke a window with a baseball in 2008. It was 7 p.m. in July. The air was thick with humidity and the drone of cicadas. The sun was setting, casting long, orange shadows across the porch. I was sweating through my shirt. I was hyperventilating. I've known her dad, Mr. Henderson, for 15 years. He's a retired cop. He owns a gun collection. He cleans his guns on Sundays. I am dating his baby girl. Do the math, Alex. The probability of survival is less than 4%. I tugged at my collar. Maya, we can run. We can move to Mexico. I can teach math on the beach. Maya stood next to me. She looked different today. She wore a pale yellow sundress that caught the light. Her hair was down, loose waves falling over her shoulders. She looked soft, but she still had that spark in her eyes. She reached out and fixed my collar. Her hands were warm. Relax, she said. Relax? Your dad has a machete in the garage. I've seen it. He loves you. You're a good boy, Alex. You're the PhD student. You're the safe choice. She stepped in close. She smelled like summer now. No more library dust and stress. Just flowers, sunshine, and that faint hint of vanilla. They already think you're the responsible one, she whispered, a smirk playing on her lips. Just don't tell them I'm the one who chased you. Let them think you swept me off my feet. I tripped and fell at your feet. There was no sweeping. She laughed. Same thing. She reached for the doorbell. Wait, I said. I'm not ready. She looked at me. She winked. Too bad. Variable change. She pressed the bell. A moment later, the screen door squeaked open. Her dad stood there. The metallic clink of a spatula hitting the grill echoed from the backyard. He looked at me. He looked at her. He looked at her joined hands. Alex, he said, confused. Where's the boyfriend? Maya said she was bringing a guy. I'm Mr. Henderson. My voice cracked like a teenager. Maya squeezed my hand. Surprise, Dad. He stared at me for a long, agonizing 5 seconds. Then, a slow smile spread across his face. Well, he said, stepping back. Finally, she's been turning boys down since she was 16. I was starting to think she was waiting for royalty. Get in here, son. I need help with the grill. He clapped me on the back, nearly knocking the wind out of me, and dragged me inside. I looked back at Maya. She stood in the doorway, framed by the sunset. She looked like trouble. She looked like my future. She smiled like she just won the lottery. And looking at her, watching her laugh as she followed us inside, I realized the math doesn't matter anymore. I guess I won too.